This is Real Generational Wealth. Live from Southern California, this is Abby, Espy, and Jen.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again to Real Generational Wealth, where we have over 50 years of combined experience, making sure you and your family always have a place to call home. Today, we are super excited. We will be covering some of the hottest issues in today's real estate market. And we want all of you guys watching to ask us any questions that you have been thinking about, buying, selling, all of the above. So let us know where you're watching from. And if you're catching us live, hashtag live. And if you're catching us on the replay, hashtag replay. So if you guys have been tuning in, or if you guys have been seeing anything online, you all know that interest rates are an all-time low. That being said, we've got a ton of buyers in the market. Buyers want to buy for the first time. Buyers want to upgrade their homes. And because of the high demand, with the mix to low supply, it is a seller's market. Abby's going to touch up on that a little bit later. But that being said, there's a ton of multiple offers. Most of my buyers that I'm working with right now, we're running into multiple offers. So I wanted to help you guys, give you guys a few tips, and give you some pointers to help you get your offers approved. You know, some people think you need to offer way above the asking price, but sometimes it takes a little bit more than that. First things first, we've all talked about it. Get a strong pre-approval letter, not just a pre-qual. You want to talk to a lender, definitely get fully pre-approved. I have all my clients get full DU approvals. You know, they're going to look at your credit, they're going to look at your income, let them run your whole financial status so they can give you a great idea of what exactly you can buy, how much you can buy.
What is a DU approval, just in case someone doesn't know?
So a DU approval is a desktop underwriter approval. I guess in simple terms, it's allowing the lender to, again, take a look at all of your financial stats, your credit, your income, your debt, and truly approve you for a true marker of like a good value of what it is you can actually afford. The last thing you want is to start looking for homes for $500,000 and you can qualify for more, or you can't afford it. You can qualify for less.
That's true.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So another thing about getting a strong pre-approval letter, it allows you to shorten some timelines. I personally work with really strong lenders that make sure that they can shorten some of my timelines to 12 days. You want to be able to come strong with your offers, because you're going to run into a lot of sellers. Abby will talk about.
12 days, Jen?
Yeah, I'm getting full approval in 12 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Full approval, appraisal, everything. I'm removing contingencies in 12 days.
Awesome.
But again, that takes all the legwork you need to do before you even submit the offer, right? You've got to work with the lender and make sure you get all of your docs in so that you are ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the new trend now.
Yeah.
You don't look for a house and then scamper to go find the financing.
Yeah, you can't figure financing out later. You got to get your ducks in a row early. Yeah. That being said, you need to also be prepared to act quickly, right? You have properties hitting the market on a Thursday, and then showings are Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, and they're already looking at offers on Monday.
That's true.
Yeah, you need to bid early. I mean, it's just as important as offering the right price, right? So you also want to figure out where you want to buy. The last thing you want is I want to buy here. I want
going all over the place. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to look all over the places. By the time you figure out you want to see a property, it's going to be gone. Someone's going to scoop it up. There's going to be an offer accepted. And also, once your offer does get approved, you want to make sure to get your inspections done quickly. I have people who say, oh, well, let's ask for a full 17-day inspection contingency. So typically that's standard. Per contract, you're usually allowed 17 days to do all of your due diligence. But in order to be competitive, you want to shorten that. You want to get your inspections done as soon as possible. I have an escrow that I opened on Friday, and we did our inspections on Saturday. So either way, and if it doesn't work for your schedule, your agent should be able to go there for you. Your agent will cover everything, make sure that everything's taken care of and whatnot. Another important thing I want to talk about is to know and submit your highest and best. I've had some buyers who will say, I want to submit $510,000. And then if later we find out we lose against a $512,000. So then you ask the buyer, or if you as a buyer, if I were to ask you, would you be disappointed if you lost against an offer that was $2,000 more? If your answer is yes, then you should have submitted $512,000 to begin with. You want to be competitive from the get-go.
How about do you do an escalation clause? Do you ever do that?
I do. I have some buyers who are willing to do that. And for those of you watching, an escalation clause is typically, hey, we'll submit X amount of dollars, or we'll just use 500,000 for a round number. But we are willing to go $5,000 above the highest offer, or $1,500 above the highest offer.
And then some put not to exceed a certain amount.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's always better to talk to the listing agent just prior to the offering deadline. That way,
You
you
what you're
can
facing.
you don't want to be submitting your offer way early, because that's going to be used as a leverage by the listing agent.
Right. You want to know what you're going up against, right?
That's right.
But so that's also why I think it's important for a lot of buyers to understand home price versus payment. Because you as a buyer could actually lose out on a house you really want, because in your mind, you don't want to budge over a certain price, right? But price is only one factor. With interest rates so low, you could spend a little more and it'll probably only make a small difference in your monthly payment.
Yeah, maybe $50 more.
Yeah. I mean,
That's it.
typically like 10,000 in purchase prices is like $60 a month.
Yeah.
And so
For your dream house, instead of
you don't want to get stuck on the idea of, I gotta stay under this much, if literally $50 a month more might get you your dream house.
Aurora has a question. My friend is single, has a car. Does she need a cosigner to buy a house?
Good question, Aurora. So it depends, right? I would tell your friends to go and get pre-approved first, because the lender will look at their overall financial status, right? You want to look at they're going to look at their debt to income ratio. So they're going to take into consideration how much income they have, put it against the debt that they owe, like the car is one of their payments, and also their credit situation. And then they will, at that point, figure out how much they can be approved for. And if they can't be approved for a loan by themselves, they can get a cosigner in that case.
Yes.
One other point I want to talk about with getting your multiple offers accepted was find out what's important to the seller, or we'll have your agent find out what's important to the seller, which we were talking about is you want to find, your agent wants to find out what other offers are at, but see what's their situation. Sometimes they need a little more time to move. They're moving out of state. They're moving into a different house. Sometimes they need a little more time to find another house. Be willing to give the sellers some time to move. And don't ask sellers to pay for your closing costs.
Not today.
I haven't seen that in years.
I haven't seen it in a very long time.
You can't see that today.
Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a consultation call, and she asked me if that's still a thing. I haven't seen that in a very long time.
Yeah, on HGTV, like if you go back 12 years, that's the thing. 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, you never know, because sometimes, in general, it's a seller's market, and then sometimes there is some kind of an urgency, and you never know what the seller would do, right?
So there are exceptions. Like if you have a house,
there can be exception.
If a home isn't moving or if it's stale, then perhaps you can ask for closing costs. The buyer, let's say the house has been on the market for 120 days. So it's pretty much stale. And the buyer can ask for closing costs at that time, because obviously it's overpriced, or there's some kind of
issue. Yeah.
There can be different issues. It can be like they TFT'd 2 times in a row.
Right. I mean, that's why in
Yeah.
that case, when it's not a multiple offer situation and a house has been sitting, there might be some leeway, right? You can get creative in your negotiation, or well, your agent should get creative in their negotiations for you to ensure you get a deal, or even you get your dream home. We have a question here. How have you ladies been helping your clients cope with submitting their highest and best at the start within today's market? Well, I was actually talking to Abby about this earlier today. I prep my clients from the get-go. I let a lot of my buyer clients know that this is the state of the market and you want to know what your highest and best is, and you've got to come in strong from the beginning. Because if you don't come in strong and you think you're going to try to get a deal, you're going to get let down. So to avoid all that, I want my buyers to make sure they know the situation and to come in strong from the beginning. I don't know if you,
Plus,
Abby, or
like I think in the Filipino culture, there's a thing called tawad. Like they want to make sure they make tawad
Yeah.
first, so they feel good about, getting a deal, or that they tried to, they want to have the last word. They don't want the seller to have the last word. They want they want the ball to be in their court. But the market is just not that way today.
yeah.
It's a seller's market, and they pretty much dictate how things go. If they have like 20 offers, they're not even going to consider you if you try to
Yeah.
It's
offer.
still a case-to-case
It's
situation.
but yeah.
Yeah, every situation is different. Again, going
Yeah.
back to properties that have been sitting on the market for some time, you could probably get away with some negotiations. But if it's a hot property that's properly priced, like at market value, chances are you're going to have to come in strong, and there won't be so much room to get a deal. But my last point I want to say to buyers who are constantly running into multiple offers is don't get discouraged. You'd be surprised how many offers fall through. I actually have some buyers right now that we just opened on Friday. I don't know if they're watching, but we opened on Friday with a property that we actually got rejected on a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was the home. It was the home. Like we all three of us loved it for them, and we went super strong. But we lost out to a cash offer. And the cash offer actually backed out for whatever reason. And we got a call last week saying, hey, the property's available again. Do you guys want it? And so we jumped on it, and then actually the same day we got a call from another property that we got rejected from a week prior to that, asking us the same day saying, hey, they couldn't get a loan anymore. Are you guys still interested? So you never know. It may come back around. If the property is meant for you, it's meant for you. But
That's true.
yeah, have faith, work with your agent, and keep pushing.
That's awesome, Jen.
That's right. Very good.
But so that's the buyer's market, or at least that's the buyer side of the market. And I know there's a lot of you there who have a ton of seller questions. So I want to transition to Abby. I mean, where as a seller do you even begin? Like, what if you can't find anything once you put the property on the market? How do you deal with that?
Well, if you can't find anything, then you can put the sale of your home on hold, or you can rent for a little while. But so let's talk about selling in a pandemic. So right now we are still in a pandemic. Although a lot of people have been vaccinated, we still have to follow COVID-19 guidelines. Am I echoing?
You're good.
Okay, so so we require a PED form, and a lot of times, if the seller is still living at the property, I like to make sure that we have a pre-approval and also the proof of funds, just to ensure that they qualify for at least the list price of the home. And then also during how I sell a home during a pandemic, I make sure that we have a virtual tour, like Matterport, right? Because we want people to go through the home and just make sure that this is really the right home for them. And then I have a photographer take beautiful photos and then do drone photos. And I like to do a coming soon prior to listing it, but that's only if the seller doesn't want it listed right away. But I prefer having a coming soon for about a week before we put it on the market. Now
Build up the hype.
on my current listing, um, so we had okay, so I listed this property. We priced it, I think about 75,000 above market value. And so the neighbor across the street, they were pending. They were at $353 a square foot, and we were at 475. And I thought, there's no this home might not sell, and my client was kind of getting antsy a little bit. And so what I did was, because she was still living there, I scheduled all of the showings. I scheduled them all on Saturday. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do like 30 showings on Saturday, and just so it's not so inconvenient for her. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but luckily we were able to find a buyer. We got an offer, and just like what you were saying,
Awesome.
Jen, is contact, or SB2, contact the listing agent first and ask them, what does the seller want, right?
Right.
Like what's going to get our offer accepted. So this agent asked me, what's going to get our offer accepted? And I was like, okay, no appraisal. You need to be over asking price, and let my seller stay in the home for free until she has to leave the country, until she has to go back. And they were like, okay. And I was going to put as is in there, but I was kind of like, okay, let's give the buyer something. Like, because with real estate, it's kind of give and take, right? You have to negotiate, and you
Right.
have to get each other's position. And I told the seller, since you're getting an offer above asking, if there's little repairs that need to be made, perhaps we can give a credit, just to make it easier. Also, the escrow period is shortened. I like 21-day escrows. It's faster. It's faster, less problems, less issues for the seller to have to deal with. Because what I'm seeing a lot right now is a lot of homes, they'll go on the market and then they'll come back.
Yeah.
Maybe 35%, right? And I hear that it's because of COVID. Like the buyer lost their job due to COVID, or they got laid off, or there's some
Yeah.
kind of financial issue that prevented the transaction from closing. So yeah, so that's how I like to represent my sellers. I just want to make sure it fits their situation, like what their preferences are, because it's different for everybody, right? Not every seller needs a lease back for free. Some sellers, they want to move right away, or some of them may need more than 60 days. So, those are things that we have to consider.
Yeah.
Do we just prolong the escrow, or, what's going to happen with that? But
See, when you
usually,
prolong the escrow, then your seller won't be able to buy a house that is non-contingent, because
that's
then
true.
you know
So
they
not a
still
lot of
have to
not
get
a
the
lot of
money from the
sellers,
sale
yeah, not a lot of sellers qualify to be non-contingent buyers. Like typically, they need the proceeds from the sale of
from the
their home to
house.
move on to the
Yeah.
next house, right? So, I mean, in that case, I guess it would just depend on the situation. But usually, if the escrow is prolonged, then we'll just remove the contingency early, and then make the escrow 60 days or whatever, just so they can do the lease back.
hmm
But yes, that's true, SB. Like a lot of times the seller is going to be a buyer also, so
hmm
they need that money to move on, to their next home. So okay. So how about anyone in the audience, or anyone that's watching? Do you guys have any questions about
There's a
selling
question there, Abby, that
related to this?
says, do you ladies think it's going to stay a seller's market for all of 2021?
What do you think, SB?
I have.
Well, if you're asking me, there's a lot. Every day now I watch the YouTube and listen to all these podcasts about what's going on in the real estate market. What are we? What's the projection, and what's the math and all that. And just based on how many people are now in forbearance, and how many people are not paying the rent,
Yep.
you know, we are projecting that by the last quarter, there's going to be, whether we like it or not, there's going to be an increase of sellers out there who's going to be in a distressed situation,
But that's
you
if
know.
they don't extend the moratorium, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they did already extended the moratorium up to September,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know. Yeah. But then as how far can you push that rock?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not can, the rock, because we have millions of homeowners who are in that situation. Now, I remember in 2008, 2009, during those times, we were also transitioning with the administration, from a Republican to a Democrat. And I remember that during that time, I was doing short sale and I was doing loan mod for my clients, loan modification. And over the last 4 years, there were changes in how the loan modification or the forgiveness was taken care of. We had that forgiveness, like the first wave of the short sale and loan modification. They were saying that, oh, okay, well, we're going to lower down your interest rate this much, and we're going to lower down your balance to 250,000 less, but we're going to be putting it at the back end of your loan, you know and
Mm.
then during the latter part, during the administration of Obama, he came out with a program where the 250,000 is going to be forgiven,
Yep.
you know
Debt
and
forgiveness.
right, you have the debt forgiveness thing. So then when you had that, then it's like having this cart with a rectangular or square wheel. We got into the round wheel where it really facilitated, it moved the market so that we have this rampant increase on the flow of real estate in the market, on starting 2013, 14, 15, 16, and up to now. We still are enjoying this increase on the equity of our homes, right? For the homeowners. So we don't know what our president is going to do. But still, there are these situations that we still, don't know. Like, for instance, Ken McElroy was saying that those people who are not paying rent, there's a person behind that apartment complex,
Yep.
and he's not going to pay his mortgage. So if he's not going to pay his mortgage, the bank that is not going to be paid, it's gonna, there's going to be like all these domino effect, right, in the market.
That's true.
So how are we going to deal with that, right?
Right.
So I always tell my clients who are thinking about doing making a decision right now, the only thing that we can be sure of is whatever is right now. The market is good, the interest rates are good. So if you have the capacity and you plan to move or, buy or sell, do it now. That's what I would always say. In any
Now is
market, there's
always a good
always a
time.
situation,
Yeah.
I don't
you
know.
know.
I think, like, in my opinion, I mean, you're right. There is a moratorium right now, and I do see a lot of notice of defaults.
Mhm.
But I think because we're in Southern California, there's always going to be a demand. So perhaps there'll be more homes on the market, but there will still be demand, and I don't think that the home prices are going to go down. Like, a lot of people think that we're going to be in a bubble or it's going
Mhm.
to be a recession, just like the way it was in 2008,
Mhm.
2009. But I
Yeah.
just think there's so many safeguards in place that we're not going to have something that drastic. But I just think there's going to be more inventory, like
Yes.
maybe towards the end of 2021, there will probably be an increase in inventory, but I don't anticipate. I mean, I do see notice of defaults. I
Mhm.
see it a lot, and I
Mhm.
think that's going to encourage people to sell their home. But I don't think it'll be like the way it was before. Like,
Mhm.
what it'll cause will probably just be an increase in inventory rather
Mhm.
than, you know short sales and REOs.
Well, you have
Yeah.
to remember
That's my
that.
opinion. What do you think, Jen?
Well, because you have to remember the loans that were done in the early 2000s were 100 to 110% financing, right? So
Yeah.
people didn't have equity in their loans. Even as
Mm-hmm.
property values raised, people had no money in their homes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it came a time when they could no longer make their payments. The houses, they owed more than what the property was worth.
Yeah.
That's
Nowadays,
true.
people need at least 3 to 5% to put down on a loan,
Yeah.
and so at this, from whenever it is that you bought your home, your equity has gone up. People have money in their home. They're going to do what they can to save that money, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's going to be a recession, or it's going to be a pitfall the way it was back then.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I do think that when that moratorium is lifted, people will be faced with the issue, like, I have to sell at this point.
Yeah.
And they will have equity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it may not be as much a skewed seller's market. I think there will be a little bit of balance, hopefully. I mean, it also
Mm-hmm.
depends where interest rates are going to go, right? We don't know
Right.
if they're going to go up. I mean, they've already slowly been coming up,
Mm-hmm.
just in the past couple of weeks. So we don't know. We don't have a crystal
Mm-hmm.
ball, unfortunately. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, when more listings do hit the market, it'll even out the supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
brought up a good point. Like back then, no one really had equity in their home, or the ones that did default on their mortgage, they didn't have as much equity as today.
Yeah.
Today,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, their home has appreciated, and they also
Yeah.
had a nice down payment. So
Yeah.
the difference with before is you would short sale. Short sale is when you're kind of upside down on your mortgage, and
Mm-hmm.
now people would just sell and then just get the net proceeds
Just move.
rather than short selling.
Yep.
So
Well,
that's
what's going on right now, because there's a lot of stay at home, where we can work from home now, is there's a lot of movement, but the movement is still within 30 to 40 miles away from the big city.
Hmm.
That's what's happening, and actually it's happening right now, where if I'm living here in Los Angeles, I have a big equity, and now I see in Riverside or in Santa Clarita, I can sell my home here and go to Santa Clarita or way as far as Riverside, and be able to get a cash flow by selling my home here, take the equity, and then buy a bigger home and cheaper. Then a lot of people are doing that, because now the situation is, they can work out of the home, and if they have a bigger home, it's more convenient for them to have an office for mom and dad, and for the kids to also have their own place,
Right.
rather than being cramped here in Los Angeles, downtown, where it's so expensive, and it's very small and old, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's not as much
that's
a need to live close
Mm-hmm.
to work anymore, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
were saying.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're looking more for quality of lifestyle.
So
Yeah.
Jennifer has a question. Let me just read it. So, if possible, if you don't need a down payment from the sale of your home, don't buy and sell at the same time. And what is your rule of thumb of selling or keeping your home as an investment property? Okay, I'll take that.
I didn't know who wanted to answer that.
Yeah, Abby, go ahead and do it.
Okay, so a rule of thumb, there's not really a rule of thumb. It's just if you
Yeah.
feel like, okay, I have this extra money, I can use it as for a
Mm-hmm.
down payment on my next home. It's money that I don't need, or it's just disposable income basically. Then it would be good to consider buying an investment property, but versus keeping your home as an investment property. If you do have a lot of equity in your home and your payments are fairly low, it might be a good time to perhaps take a HELOC out, or if you have extra money, you can buy your next principal residence rather than buying an investment property. So it's really up to you, like what your capacity is and
Right.
what you're comfortable with. Because
Mm-hmm.
like for us, I wanted to get a fourplex. Like after we had our investment property, I wanted to buy a fourplex, but I decided to invest in a new business. So we used that money for a fourplex, towards a new business, just because
Mhm.
we really wanted to diversify our investments. And I
Mhm.
just felt like having a fourplex would be very similar to having the single family home. So, it depends, Jennifer. If you need any other additional help or if you have additional questions, let me know.
Yeah, I have something to mention on that now for my age bracket.
Uh-huh.
So so most of the baby boomers out there have been in their home for a long time,
Right.
okay? And they also have their 401ks and IRAs, okay?
Hmm.
So if you're gonna move, buy a house, and then you have to sell a house, um, maybe you might could consider, making that as an investment and then move to another house, to a new house. So there's so many things that's happening right now because the interest rates are so low. Even your IRAs and 401ks are not making so much money. And interestingly enough, you can use your IRA or your 401k, convert it into a self-directed IRA, and use that to purchase an investment property, you know. So maybe what you can do is, um, turn this property that you have right now into an investment property, free up that cash that you have, and then buy your house, your next house. So that's one thing that you could do. So that is actually being done where you have your financial planner and your realtor and your tax guy work together. Okay, so that you don't get in trouble on the tax issue on it. But it's exciting right now because there is so many ways of doing it. Like there are some agents who would mention about the bridge loan. Okay, a bridge loan is taking money out of your home right now so that you can use it as a down payment. However, when you do that, it's very expensive. Bridge loan is expensive. It's not
Yes.
a cheap loan. It's like getting a hard money.
Yeah.
Hmm.
you know so that's another thing. So let's say I'm a seller and I want to buy a house. Another thing that you could do is, if you have a big equity in your home, is I can try to see if I can qualify for a minimal down payment on another house, and see if I can just rent my home for now, and then in a couple of months just sell it you know
Hmm.
So if I have a 401k, I can use my 401k to do that, to buy the house that I want right now, and have the house that I have right now that I'm selling, separate. In other words, I can show to the lender that, hey, lender, I'm going to rent this house right now. You know, it's
Yeah.
easy to have that because there's a lot of renters. Even my cousin can rent my house, right?
Hmm.
And then buy the house that I want right now and use a minimal down payment. Okay. Then using my other sources of income, sources of asset, like my 401k or maybe my savings. And then in a couple of months or so, sell the other house.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another way of doing it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also today, I think a lot of people there's a lot of people making money off of Airbnb. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing for a few of my clients is looking into properties in Big Bear, because in Big Bear, what the big bonus is, Big Bear is considered a resort town.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take out a loan, it's not going to be considered investment property. You can do a loan for a second home. So
Mm-hmm.
the benefits are you only need a minimum down payment. You can do a VA loan, FHA loan, or 5% down, 10% down. So you can pretty much do the same loan with your primary residence and take advantage of the low interest rates and low down payment options, and get a second home in Big Bear or Lake Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
You can recoup some of your money by having it rented out when you're not there. We have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of weekend snowboarders. Maybe there's weekend snowboarders watching, and they want to have their own place in Big Bear, or Lake Arrowhead or Crestline.
Palm
And
Springs.
you have that option. You can always get a place in Big Bear under 300,000, and then hire a local property management company and
Yeah.
have them do the marketing and have them take care of the cleaning, and also coordinating with the short-term renters. have them do that and just collect the money while you're at home. And that's like a secondary income that you have.
Right.
So that's an option. Oh, there's somebody that has a question here. I think I know him.
Christian? Is that Christian?
Oh, yeah, this guy named Christian Ronquillo, he asked a question. How do you
About the
handle,
solar.
yeah, how do you handle marketing a home that has solar, which is a plus today, but is
Mhm.
currently leased, which can possibly attract buyers? What do you guys think?
Um, I heard about solar that has a lease on it. Usually that has to be paid off, you know. That
Usually,
needs to be paid off. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's either paid off from the proceeds of the purchase, and usually what happens is that your listing agent should factor that in
That's
to
true.
to you know to the
So,
asking price.
so the home that we currently own has solar. The previous owner was did it through the Hero program.
Yep.
He was in the
Hero Loan.
military, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
31 panels, and that was more than 40,000. And our investment property also has solar, but that solar is leased.
Mm-hmm.
So the tenant has to pay SunStreet, but they don't give us the option to pay off the solar. The What happens is the next buyer has to qualify to lease the
Mm-hmm.
solar. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends what the
Yeah. What kind
terms
of
are, right?
program?
Because,
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
with our
true.
tenants or with our investment property, you instead of paying Southern California Edison, you pay the solar company.
Right.
Whereas there's some where you have to qualify for a loan and then you lease it. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
it just depends. But
Right.
I mean,
Because
a
of
lot
that,
of
it needs to
times,
be a part of the buyer's DTI, right? Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, exactly. It affects the buyer's DTI, and also when you
Mm-hmm.
refinance, the solar company has a lien, so they're in first position
Yeah, they
a
have
lot
to
of times with
subordinate
the lender. Yeah, so
to the new
when you're
first.
refinancing a home and it has solar, it takes a long time. Like
Mhm.
you got to get it approved by the solar company. It takes like 45 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, marketing a home that has solar, I mean, that's it's great to market a home that has solar. You'll get buyers that have electric vehicles
yep.
or buyers that are very, sustainably conscious.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's
That's
just
a
a
new
big
thing now.
plus. So
Yeah,
that's a
that's
big
the new
plus
trend.
because nowadays electricity is so expensive that having
Right.
solar, it's a cheaper
Huge
option.
plus. Yeah.
So yeah, it's easy to market a home with solar.
Yeah.
We have another
So,
question there that
yeah,
says,
Jennifer is asking a question about the self-directed IRA.
yeah, I think that goes to what you were talking about, SB. Are those self-directed IRAs easy to manage?
Well, some seminars will tell you, just go ahead and do it. But I would say there are some money handlers who would do that for you, and that's what I would do. I would not meddle with it because if you make one mistake there on one check or two checks, that reflects that as if it was coming, because the idea is that when you do a self-directed, your IRA is supposed to be investing on that property. You cannot touch it, you cannot do anything with it. You don't have anything. Even
Oh,
even your family does is vertical. You cannot
mhm,
use it to buy property for your son or for your parents. you know
mhm,
but there are ways of doing it. They form a trust or they form an LLC. But that is somebody. That's the reason why I said you have to be involved with your financial planner, your CPA, or your tax guy, and your realtor. Because your realtor, our function is to sell the property. I can just give you a little hint here and there on certain tricks that you can do, but
yeah,
whoever is going to do it, to implement it with you, would be the expert. Whether he is the the financial planner or the accountant or the tax guy.
attorney,
They're the ones that's going to do it for you, or whoever is going to do the 1031 exchange,
Right.
things like that. Yeah, it has to be done by the expert. Yeah.
we have any other questions for those of you who are watching us?
Yeah.
SP. So why don't we talk about? So you touched on baby boomers having equity. How about cashing out or Prop 19?
Yeah. The Prop 19 is going to be a hot item now. In fact, we have Prop 19 way back, and it was called Prop 6090. And I used to do workshops about it. There's a lot of homeowners who are not aware of it because you can only avail of it if you apply. You know, like Prop 19 is when you are going to sell your home now, you can take your property tax that you have. Let's say you've been living there for, especially for the baby boomers, if you've been living in your home for the last 20 to 30 years, so you bought that home for a lot less, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
185, 150,000.
Yep.
Okay. Meanwhile, if you are in Mountain View or if you are in LA, Los Angeles, your property tax now is still based on that 150. It's just increasing 2% a year, So right now, maybe that guy who owned or who bought the property for 150,000 here in Hollywood Hills is only paying like maybe 2,000, $3,000 a year on their
Mm-hmm.
property tax,
Yeah.
right? But the value of their home is already 1.5 million or 2 million. So if you move now, you can take that property tax that you have currently and transfer that to the property that you're going to buy. Before, on the Prop 6090, there's a lot more limitations, But now you can move anywhere in the Philippines, not in the Philippines,
In the Philippines, in
anywhere in
California.
California, anywhere in California, any county, you can also move up or you can move down. So you can upsize or downsize. And there is a formula there if you're going to upsize, where you can take your present property tax and bring it with you. So let's say you upsize, you bought a 5 million dream home up in the hill or right there in Malibu. You can do that, but the first million, there's some rules. The first million, you can use your property tax on the first million, and then on the anything over that can be there's a math and a formula that you can use as to how they're going to adjust your property tax. But bottom line is that your property tax is not going to be based on the 5 million purchase price
Yep.
on a house in
Yeah,
Malibu. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's a huge savings.
Yeah, so you're saving a lot. So just think about somebody who's buying a house for 500,000. That's almost with a 2% property tax right now that they are charging new developments. That's a lot of money. That's like what,
ten
$10,000 right
thousand
there for
dollars a year. Yeah.
home. Yeah. So if you're taking your property tax right now, that it's like $2,000, $3,000, that's going to be a lot of savings for you. You know. So that's one thing about the property proposition 19. So baby boomers who have got fat equity right now, this is the best time for you to cash out. Why? Because you can take your equity, go use your property, your Prop 19. If you are 55 or over, you can use that 3 times your lifetime, and when you reach 55 and over. And if you are like me, who is over 60 years old, you can also you combine that with a reverse mortgage as a purchase, the HECM. Uh, or you can only you can pay 50%. Let's say you're buying not $1 million, but you're saying you're buying a house that is like 500,000 or 700,000 in Riverside, right? You can pay 60 to 42 to 62%. There's a formula again for that based on your age. Um, of your down payment, and then you don't have to pay mortgage up to the time that you exit that house, whether you're going to sell that house, whether you're going to you count out, you drop dead, or you move to you move
Knock on wood.
to your home or something, whatever. You can stay
Coming
there
up
without
further.
paying a mortgage payment, right?
Right.
So even if I stay there until I'm 120 years old, I
Mhm.
don't need to make mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge
The only
plus.
caveat there is you have to make sure that you can qualify, you can show that you can pay the taxes and the insurance. Because remember, the collateral there is the house. You have to make sure, the lender wants to make sure that the house doesn't get burned down, you have insurance, or the house is, the taxes are not are paid. Because as you know, tax liens go first before any lien. If you
Right.
don't pay your taxes, even $20,000, $30,000, even though your house is 500,000, you know, they can put a lien on your house and put a foreclosure in your
They can
house if you don't
foreclose.
pay
Yeah.
the tax, right? Yeah. So that's my little piece of information today.
That's very sophisticated stuff, SB.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited for the baby
Yeah.
boomers because we're saying, oh, 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day and they don't have, they're cash poor.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them who are equity rich.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I would say this is my advice, especially for the Filipino grandmas out there or moms. Okay, take care of yourself first. Your equity should take care of you in your golden days. Use it as a leverage. So whatever is left, then let the kids have them. Okay,
That's
but
great
don't
advice.
scream and suffer on living in your little house that is falling apart just because you want to save for your kids later. You know, leverage on that home, move to a nicer home that can be more suitable for you and more convenient for you. And that home that you're going to buy, you can use your Prop 19, you can use the reverse mortgage, so that you can still afford it. And whatever is left, your kids would still enjoy it.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
retire in
And I'm
style.
sure your kids would love it because they don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, where am I going to put my mom? I don't know where she can afford to go to a care home or where, when she starts falling apart, you don't want to do it that time. You want
Right.
to, you want to do it when you are still sane. You can still remember the names of your kids. You can still understand what is your trust and how to take care of your trust, right? Because not
Right.
all
Yeah.
trust are the same, right? You want to do it then because your kids would love you, would feel more at peace when they see that you are more settled and taken care of when the time comes that you can't take care of yourself. Okay?
Awesome advice.
Yes. Yes.
Amen. Agree to all that.
I'm sure Abby and Jen believes and goes, with me on that, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
of course. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, because especially with the Filipino culture, we will always think, oh, I have two, three kids. I want to make sure that they all have a house, they homes. And then meanwhile, mom and dad are just, scrimping on their groceries, scrimping on their expenses just because
Hmm.
they don't want to, they just want to fit into that social security or pension that they have,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
you know and whereas they have a nice beautiful equity, maybe not a nice house but the equity is beautiful,
Hmm.
and they're just
Yeah.
preserving it. But think about the leverage that you can do. The right now, the best time is because your interest rate is good. Your 401k or your money sitting in the bank is only like what, how much is it making, right? You
Yeah.
can leverage all of that and live nicely in Santa Clarita or
Yeah.
you
Let
know,
your money
in
make
a nice
money for you.
community that is new. You don't have to worry about toilets not flushing or showers are just falling or overflowing or the roof, leaking. Whenever your kids come and visit you, they just have to put away stuff because it's Thanksgiving and they have to clear the table, right?
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah.
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 That's why ultimately you want to create real generational wealth through real estate.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So if you want to ask me questions about structured sale, installment sale, how to defer your taxes on your, all these houses that you bought for over the last 10, 20 years, ask me about that. I have a team of professionals that can help you, enlighten you on what you can do.
Yep, that's SP's expertise.
Yeah,
Retiring
it's
style.
not me.
Hashtag
It's just the
retired.
expert. I just tap the people who are vetted and can help you because sometimes we are timid or we just don't know how to ask or what to ask or what is out there, you know. And for us, what we can do is to open doors for them and be the mouth, you know, because sometimes we just be the one to speak for them and open some ideas for them that's possible. You know, we're just not playing experts, but we're playing like, you know, we can collaborate with people and speak out for them,
I
right?
think sometimes people just get complacent or they're comfortable and they don't want to.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, I feel comfortable keeping my money in my equity or in my home, but your money could be making money for you if you do it the right way or if you contact an expert
Right
like
people. Yep.
SB, to help you figure out what to do with the large equity in your home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's so much more on that because, you know, our biggest asset in general is our home. You know,
yeah.
like 2 days ago, I had a call from a friend of mine. You know, she was introduced to me, and she was telling me about what happened to her aunt. She has an aunt that doesn't have kids, right? A spinster, and she was living with a dad, her dad. So dad has a house, and aunt doesn't have a house. So the two of them stayed together. You know, dad lost his wife. So the two of them to living together, they're getting old, you know, and the kids just visiting them, bringing them food and all that, taking care of it, right? So meanwhile, dad got the house to a reverse mortgage. And to do that, because aunt was a co-owner before, and opted out, she has to quit claim. You know, I guess she was not at age at that time.
Hmm.
So now dad passed away. When she passed away,
Hmm.
the reverse mortgage was being called,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Now, Aunt is sick. She's weak. She's old. She's weak. Okay. And then for some reason over the years, Aunt cannot take care of herself. So guess what happened? They took the aunt, brought the aunt in a care home, right? Because she cannot take care of herself anymore. State has to take over.
Yeah.
You know what
Oh,
happened to the house? The
They took
house
it.
got boarded.
Yeah.
They cannot touch anything there. States come in and take over now of that house, and they cannot even take any document that is in that house. It's locked
that's
in,
so sad.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I keep on saying. You know, you want to plan early while you can still remember the kids' names, you can still understand your what is trust, what is a revocable trust, what is an irrevocable trust, and all that. We have this saying, you know, even with my family, said, "Well, how come are you talking to me about that? Am I gonna die? Am I dying tomorrow?" No, it's just a matter of being prepared.
Yep. Planning
If you
early.
Yeah.
prepare, your heirs are gonna love you. Your beneficiaries are going to be happy because they're not going to be groping for the password, finding out where things are. You know,
Definitely.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
For the baby boomers out there and for the Filipino mom and dad and grandmas and grandpas, that's my message. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. There's ways to retire in style, get through being a buyer and a seller in today's crazy, crazy market.
That's
So thank you all for tuning in. If any of you guys have any more questions, please feel free to DM any of us direct. We'd love to help you and answer any of them.
right.
And we will see you guys next week. Next week, we will be covering credit repair. I know a ton of people have questions on
Yes.
that. So we
Yes.
will see you
Yes.
guys
Yay.
then. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.